Former President Donald Trump and his allies had long since touted the so-called benefits of using hydroxychloroquine as a treatment for COVID-19. However, a new scientific study adds on to the mountain of evidence that we have that finds that when it was prescribed, people actually ended up dying more. That's right. The study was published in the February issue of Biomedicine and Pharmacotherapy and reveals researchers using data from a study published in the Nature Scientific Journal. Researchers in this meta-analysis found that those who took the drug were actually about 11% more likely to die of COVID. So taking the miracle COVID cure actually makes you die more. Now, that makes sense because hydroxychloroquine is not an antiviral. It does have its legitimate medical uses, but not for COVID. So, highlights of the study find that hydroxychloroquine was prescribed in hospital patients with COVID-19 despite the low-level evidence. HQC use was associated with an 11% increase in the mortality rate in this meta-analysis of randomized trials. They found the number of hydroxychloroquine-related deaths in hospital patients is estimated to be about 16,990 in 6 countries. These findings illustrated the hazard of drug repurposing with low-level evidence for the management of future pandemics. So basically, hey, if you don't have the evidence that it's going to be effective, then don't prescribe it for that thing. That's it. I mean, it's about the most simple, no duh, no crap finding. Nonetheless, there's going to be people out there that are going to dispute it, that are furiously typing bullshit into their keyboards as we speak. Look, that said, using hydroxychloroquine on COVID led to more deaths for people with COVID. Now, look, part of the reason that I think that a lot of people were asking for the drug that when they're in the hospital is because you had them, first you had the president saying, I took hydroxychloroquine. You had all these Fox News hosts, right-wing figures that are saying, take hydroxychloroquine. So when they're hospitalized with COVID-19, they were like, please get me the hydroxychloroquine. And then they would forego any other treatment, if there was a treatment at the time. And so, look, when it came to, the first part of COVID, when it first hit, we didn't have any treatments for it. We didn't have any vaccines. And so it's understandable that you had people, doctors that were like, let's try these medications that we already have, see if we get lucky. Okay? And hydroxychloroquine was one of those. I believe ivermectin might have been another one of those. So I'm not entirely sure if that was just like cranks that were trying that first, or if doctors had actually tried it. I don't quite remember. Nonetheless, it was not found to be effective at all against COVID-19, so they dropped it and moved on. All right. That said, there was a group of people that did not drop it. And instead of getting vaccinated when that became available, they were just like, no, we're going to take hydroxychloroquine, and then they end up getting COVID, and that COVID would become severe, and they'd end up in the hospital. Look, the vaccine was designed to protect against severe COVID infections, and they did it by boosting your own immune system to fight against the virus. Hydroxychloroquine does not boost your immune system. Okay, so without the boost, certain people, they got severely ill and died. While most people who were vaccinated, they still got sick, but not ill enough to actually die. Okay, look, I had COVID around Christmas. It was not fun. It was not pleasant, right? But it also wasn't severe. It wasn't severe enough to land me in the hospital, and that's, I think, because of the vaccines. Vaccines are not miracle cures. They're not impenetrable shields against illness, and are not marketed as such, unlike what we saw with hydroxychloroquine. What we saw in the right wing is, this is a miracle cure. This will solve everything. Just take this, and you'll be 100% fine. No, look, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. But yet you had Donald Trump as well as Fox hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Steve Doocy, Lou Dobbs, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, all of which I'm assuming, let's be honest, it's not even a big stretch to say that they all probably got vaccinated immediately, as soon as they could. But they were out there hawking this product anyway, and claiming that, hey, if you take it, take this, a hydroxychloroquine regimen, then you're never going to get sick. Well, that's not true. Laura Ingraham even met with Trump to promote this, and even once laughed in the face of a guest who had a question about its effectiveness in treating COVID-19. Laura Ingraham is not a doctor. She's a talking head. So I'm not a doctor either. But what I am is a person who reads the science, reads what the scientific consensus through testing and trials and evaluations and analyses have discovered about this. Okay? But it wasn't just her. It was then Attorney General William Barr who weighed in, claiming that it was effective and saying that the media was committing a quote-unquote jihad against the Trump administration by daring to promote the scientific data about the lack of efficacy in hydroxychloroquine's ability to fight COVID-19. And of course, as a result of all of this, of chuds, right-wingers, listening to this medical misinformation, 11,000 Americans died because they thought hydroxychloroquine, it's going to save me. It's going to save us. Look, MAGA, as I mentioned, they didn't move on. They stuck with things that didn't work. First going from hydroxychloroquine to ivermectin, to all this, other stuff, even though it was killing them. And even though there was a vaccine that was available. But not only did they refuse to get it, they fear-mongered about it. And they're still fear-mongering about it. They're still talking about vaccine shedding. Well, I'm a pure blood. And they're also putting out cringe videos where people would pretend to be having seizures and stuff. Really bad acting on some of those. And even made a stupid movie claiming that people are dropping dead due to the vaccine. No, that's not reality. They even paid quack doctors to promote the controversy. Right. Okay. Doctors like Stella Emanuel or even Joseph Ladapo, who is now the highest health official in Florida. So, and I don't mean high in a good way. No, I mean some of the stuff makes you think he might be high. But no, he's the most, again, powerful medical professional inside of the DeSantis administration. So that's disastrous. Disastrous for the people of Florida. Now, why they did this, I don't really have a clue, right? Maybe right-wingers hate being factually, proven factually wrong. And maybe hate it so much that they would rather die. Yeah, they're going to die on that hill in a literal sense. I don't know. I just know that I happen to enjoy living far more than being right all the time. But I guess apparently some people have just have different priorities, I guess.